Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are talking about Hereditary, which is one of the movies that I picked for our Halloween event. It is a drama horror mystery film from 2018, and this has a 7.3 on 173,102 votes. The spoiler-free synopsis: when the matriarch of the Graham family passes away, her daughter and grandchildren begin to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry, trying to outrun the sinister fate they have inherited.
Yeah.
That, if I had read that, I'd be like, oh, that sounds like a really cool horror movie. And then you watch it, I'm just like, whoa.
I'll say what I said when we do initial thoughts. I'll save it for that. So, this is his first major film. This is directed by Ari Aster.
Yeah.
And his other film he's only directed 2 feature-length films. This one and the movie just came out this year, Midsummer.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movies are like short films, so I can't really count them as feature lengths.
Yeah.
And this stars Toni Collette, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne.
Yep. So the ratings for this: 24.3% of users on IMDb rated this at an 8. Metacritic, it has an 87%. Rotten Tomatoes, an 89% on 351 critical reviews. 2 of the fresh from Rotten Tomatoes: Chris Sawin. Hereditary is a squeamish plunge into nightmarish insanity. It is absolutely bizarre at times, spine-tingling at others, and loaded with bonkers terror in between.
Yeah.
I feel like he just picked the most random words. Bonkers terror.
The bonkers terror is like, what? But everything else, yes.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah. I could agree with that one. I really can.
Alright. Ed Potton. It's an astonishing performance from Collette, a disorienting cocktail of humane, hurtful, and hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 rotten. Rob Dean. Hobbled by a lack of cohesive narrative execution, Aster has ultimately made a very strong debut that shows a great talent for filmmaking, but one that would do with some refinement on the script level. I feel like that's the most complimentary bad review.
That is. It's like, you did a really good job with your first film and maybe fix the script a little. So
yeah.
It's like constructive criticism?
Yeah, I think it's a very constructive criticism. So, Andrew Kendall. The movie does terrify in moments, but its movement from humoristic horror to inexplicably supernatural in the last third feels unsatisfying. I think it makes sense with the story.
I can kind of agree with the unsatisfying part a little bit. I can. But I'll talk about that in a little bit.
So the consensus. Hereditary uses its classic setup as the framework for a harrowing, uncommonly unsettling horror film whose cold touch lingers long beyond the closing credits. You know how that feels.
I completely and utterly agree with that statement.
So the money. The budget for this film was $10 million. In the U.S., it made $44,069,456 for the gross. The gross international, it made $35,267,365 for a worldwide total of $79,336,821. Its opening weekend, it made $13,575,172. You know, I think for a debut film, that's a really good debut.
I'd agree. I do. For, like, your first movie, coming out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So, awards. This won 43 awards and had 93 other nominations. I, of course, am not going to list all 43 because I would get bored and you guys would get bored. So, let's just say a lot of them are breakout director for Ari Aster, and a lot of them are best actress for Toni Collette. And then there's a couple of them that I did want to say. I just gotta find them. Here's one that I thought was really funny, but I can't say the whole entire thing just because it's a spoiler, but I will say what the award is without saying the whole thing. Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. Best Kill. You'll know if you've seen it. You'll know, and
That's
I think it's
awful
great.
award, but I see why that won. Boy,
that is a great award. Thank you very much.
Only you, Kat.
And then there's some demented people. The Los Angeles Online Film Critics Society Awards, Best Performance by an Actor 23 and Under, Alex Wolff. That is the son. He plays Peter in the movie. I think he did a great job. There was a few times he was annoying, but I think he did a great job for the most part. Yeah, I think that's it. I will say, this debuted at Sundance Film Festival, and that's where I first... Actually, no, that's not where I first heard about it. That's one of the first reactions I heard about it after I had watched it for the first time, and I was just like, yeah, I can see why there was so much buzz after that festival, because Sundance is just one of those where it's all the new people going and debuting their films and stuff, so I can see why this one came out as one of the most talked about movies from Sundance from 2018.
And Sundance Film Festival is probably it's a big film festival,
yeah,
for sure. And if you want to get known, you get your film into Sundance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But that's not where I first heard about it. Because I didn't watch it until... I think it was earlier this year I watched it. I didn't even watch it last year. I didn't know... Oh, no, I did watch it last year because I was debating on picking it for...
You did watch it last year.
I was debating on picking it for the Halloween event last year, and I decided not to.
Yeah, I remember you were, like, so excited to tell me about this. I was like, okay, Kat.
It's good. It's good.
You were like, I'm going to make you watch it. I'm like, okay. And you did.
I did. I'm very happy about it. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. So, like I said just now, Kat wanted me to watch this movie, and she's like, I'm going to pick this as one of my films for our second Halloween event. I'm like, okay, great. Why not? Because she'd been talking so much about it, and she's like, oh, I love this movie. It's, I was like, okay, it's a horror film. Kat loves horror films.
I do.
Okay? So I was like, all right, sure. I watched this. At the very end, I text Kat, and I said, what the fuck did you just make me watch? It did. It's an actual text message I sent her. She got concerned a bit, but it's only because it screwed with my head. And it's been screwing with my head all damn week. This movie likes to mess with you. It screws with your head, and it just, it makes you think about everything. And I'm not liking that very much.
But see, to me, that's what makes a great horror film. If it can fuck with you for more than just while you're watching it, it's great.
I mean, I did like it in general. I was like, alright, horror film. Some parts I was like, what the fuck? Like there's shock factors in here for sure. Especially one of them. I'm like, what? They showed that on screen? Are you kidding me? But the end to me, I just felt like when the review said earlier about that, like an unsatisfying end. I felt like it copped out a little bit trying to explain why it is. I felt like if it didn't explain it, that would be fine with me. Because then it would make me think, like, well, okay, well, why is they doing that, you know? What's going on? It makes you think more and more about it. And so I just felt like it copped out at the end. But overall, it's really good acting. I love some of the special effects in here. We'll say why when we get to the movie. Got some good special effects. Yeah, it's stuck with me. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a few nightmares. And I normally don't get, like, freaked out with horror films, but this one did. So,
See,
good job, Kat.
Thanks. See, I told you, it's a great horror film. Like, yeah, you may not like the ending, and that's fine. Like, there's a lot of movies that I hate the ending, but I like the movie. This is not one of them. I think, to me, this is kind of like a secret witch film. Like, you go into it not really expecting it to be about what it's about, and then you kind of figure it out, and you're just like, whoa. And I was, the entire way going through it, I was just like, oh, this is going to be this kind of movie. And then something changes, and I was like, okay, well, then it's going to be this kind of movie. And then something else changes, and it turns out it's just like a kind of a witchy kind of movie. And you can kind of see it a little bit in the trailer, but it doesn't reveal much in the trailer, which is good. Like, I hate it. That's why I try to avoid trailers. I hate it when movies reveal everything in the trailer. Like, you know the entire plot of the movie when just watching the trailer. And this one, it shows you bits and pieces without revealing anything important. Like, it shows you a little bit of the witchy stuff in the trailer, but it doesn't show you enough to make you think that this entire thing is about that. The first time I watched this, I remember I was so just kind of like, oh, my friend said this is cool. I'll check it out. It's a horror movie. Cool. I had no idea what to expect. There were so many moments I was like, did that really just happen? Are you kidding me? Like, I was shocked 90% of the movie because I was just like, are you, what? Like, really? The acting in this, especially from Toni Collette and, what's the kid's name again? Alex something or another? I forgot it. Where's that? Alex Wolff and Toni Collette, their performances are amazing. Millie Shapiro, her performance is amazing. They're actually, this movie is, to me, it's creepy, and it takes a lot for movies to kind of creep me out, especially like horror movies. It takes quite a bit. There is a little girl that kind of has some similar facial features to that actress that plays Charlie at the school that I work at. Oh, and I see her, and I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
Oh my god, yes. Yes.
And that just makes this movie that much creepier because I see something in real life rather than just in a movie. And I tend to detach myself a lot to movies. And I don't know why. It's just like, that's what my mom does, and that's what I do. Like, my dad's completely opposite. He, like, puts himself in the movies, but I'm a lot like my mom in that aspect, is I just detach myself and I just watch them. So that's why, like, if a movie can be creepy to me, then that just automatically puts it up there as one of those that I'm just like, holy crap. And then you add that I have a kid at the school I work at that looks like this little girl, it makes it even creepier. But the cinematography in this is amazing. The story is good. I like the story a lot. I don't think it's the best story ever, but I do like it. And the acting just kind of, I was surprised. I mean, I'm not really surprised. I really thought that Toni Collette should have won an award for this, even been nominated for an award, just because she did such an amazing job. But it's a horror movie, so that's never going to happen.
Yeah, horror films and, like, it's horror films and musicals. They get, like, screwed over all the time on that.
Yeah, horror films, musicals, and sci-fi films tend to get screwed in Oscars and stuff.
Exactly.
Which really sucks because sci-fi is one of my favorites. Horror is my absolute favorite. And you like musicals, so it's just like our favorite things just kind of get screwed. Like, I like dramas, so I have that. And I get to be able to enjoy that my dramas get to win awards. But most of the awards that, like, the horror movies win is at horror film festivals. So it's just like, it's meant for that. first time I watched this, I had no idea what to expect. And then I watched it and I was like, I had the same exact reaction to this movie as you did. You texted my friend and I was like, what just happened? It's like, well, did you like it? I was like, oh my god, yeah, it was great. It was amazing. But yeah, so that's my little thing there.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
That was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then stop listening and come back after you've watched it. So this movie kind of starts out with an obituary. Like, literally, it's a black screen and you see an obituary of this woman who has passed away, and it's just like the normal obituary, just as her family and stuff like that. And then we see a tree house. And the thing I really like about this movie is how it transitions from models, like little model houses and stuff, and little model scenes, to real life. Like the tree house we get here in the beginning is a model, and then transitions into the real big treehouse, and then we get the model of the actual house that's in the story, and then it transitions to the main house. And I just think that is an aspect, like a really well thought out artistic aspect of this movie that I've never seen in anything before.
I was like, that's part of the trivia too, but I'll get to that later.
Okay. So it zooms into this boy's room, and it's like, it's focusing on the model, and then it like zooms into this room, and it ends up being Peter's room. And then all of us, as soon as you realize Peter is in there, which we don't know his name yet, but that's Peter, it's all of a sudden the real house, like as soon as you get close enough to see that it's a person. And they're getting ready to go to the funeral for the Graham, I don't remember her name.
Ellen. I wrote the name down. Ellen Lay.
There you go. But they're getting ready to go to her funeral. And so we see that the little girl, Charlie, has slept in the treehouse, and she's getting griped at by her dad because it was cold. And she slept in the treehouse, and she shouldn't have because it was cold. So they get to the funeral, and the mom is kind of talking, and she's like, it's so nice to see all these people here. I don't recognize any of you, but it's nice to see you. And it's just like one of those things, kind of automatically it sets my suspicion off. I'm like, okay. But that's coming from someone who watches a lot of horror movies. Like, as soon as somebody says something that's out of the ordinary, I'm automatically like, whoa, why is that? So I thought that was interesting. Then it's like the reception afterwards, and we find out that Charlie is allergic to nuts. And so because she's eating a chocolate bar, and her mom and dad ask if there's nuts in that.
It's like, that's important. You have to remember that.
Yes.
It's like, and she's been Charlie likes to draw. And she's drawing everything. And she drew a grandma in her coffin, of course.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Morbid. Okay. So
and that's important as well.
Yes, the drawing's important too.
The drawing is important. But so the mom is talking to... So Annie is the mom, played by Toni Collette, is talking to Dad, which is Steve, played by Gabriel Byrne, something like that.
I don't know.
But she's like, I feel like I should be sadder about this. And we aren't quite sure why she feels that way just yet. We do find out a little bit later why, and I'll talk about that later. But we see that Annie is the one that is working on the models, and that's actually her job. And I'm just like, that is like the coolest job in the world.
I forgot you would like that. Kat and her models.
I love doing models. But yeah, she's working on her models and stuff, and that's her job. Steve is going up to check on Peter, seeing how he's doing, with his grandma having passed away. And Annie goes and checks on Charlie, and Charlie's like, well, who's going to take care of me now? Because we kind of get the sense that she's not too interested in her mom. Like, she's kind of off-put by her mom. And we do find out a little bit later why that is as well.
It's like, well, it says that, talks about how Grandma wanted, it's like Grandma's favorite and everything.
Yeah.
And Grandma wanted her to be a boy.
Uh-huh.
Now that's important to remember, too.
Yeah.
Later on.
There's so much. Like, the beginning of this movie just sets up so much that happens in the second and the third act. Like, the first act is kind of long. I will admit that. But it gives you so much information, especially the more times you watch it, the more you pick up on. Because I've seen it probably like 4 or 5 times now. But there's so much in this beginning third of the movie that sets off alarm bells. And you're just like, as you watch it again and again, you're just like, oh, that's important. I need to remember that. Oh, that's important. And it just sets up so much. And I think he does such a good job of very subtly setting things up without you realizing how important it is until you've seen the whole movie.
There's also the part, I'll say this because it helps set up for later. Her mom had a necklace on that has like this weird symbol on it. And Annie also was given a necklace by her mom that had the same symbol on it.
Yeah.
I remembered to keep that in mind because the camera zoomed in on it. So I remembered it should be important later on.
Yeah, well, and you see that symbol quite a few times.
Yes.
So, while Annie is in there checking on Charlie, we see right behind her, like, headboard. It's just one of those metal headboards, and you kind of see through it that Satany has been carved into the wall behind Charlie's headboard. I don't know if you caught that. I actually didn't catch that the first time I watched it, so.
Oh, there was different sayings, like, carved in or, like, written out behind, like, on walls. I caught
throughout
those.
the whole movie.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one the first time. The rest of them I did catch, but this one I didn't catch the first time I watched it. It was the second time I watched it. I caught that.
Yes, I didn't see that one. I saw the rest. I didn't see that one.
Because that one is quick. The other ones kind of linger a minute or two. Or not a minute or two, but like a few seconds. But that one is like super quick.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice it.
See, I didn't notice it the first time I watched it either. So
we're good then.
So Annie is kind of going through some older things, some stuff from her mom. Just kind of like reminiscing a little bit. And she sees something in the darkness. Because she's up in the attic, and you kind of see something, and you're like, that's the thing, that's another thing that I like a lot about this movie, is a lot of horror movies rely on jump scares, and you can see them coming a lot of the times. And
or hear them coming.
Yeah, hear them coming. This one, the music does, like, it builds when it needs to, but it doesn't build in a way that you're like, oh, there's a jump scare coming. This one is just like, all of a sudden there's something there in the darkness, and I'm just like, whoa. And it's not a jump scare either. It's just like, something's there, and it's just standing there.
And it looks like her mom.
Yeah. And then we see this really weird little model.
It's actually made me laugh.
This is one of those moments I was like, what?
I got it. I got
it with the story. I was just like, why? It's just like, that's really weird. But so it's Annie, and we're assuming either baby Charlie or baby Peter. We find out later, based on information we get from Annie, it's baby Charlie, laying in the bed, and Grandma figurine is standing next to the bed with her boob out, like she's getting ready to breastfeed. Which is interesting for a 80-year-old woman to be doing. But yeah, I was just like, why?
As why? Like, you understand it as like she's talking about it, but
yeah, because we get more information on that whole situation. So then it's school time. I'm guessing sometime next week or so. If family member dies, you take some time to yourself and stuff. So we see Charlie at school, and she's in class. Her face, just like this entire movie, is just angry. She just looks angry this entire movie. And it kind of makes sense because she was very attached to her grandmother. So you think she's just angry because her grandma's dead and she doesn't know what's going to happen to her right now.
And I just felt like, I don't want to sound mean or anything, But I don't think Charlie was all the way there with mental capacity. But that's me.
I agree. That's what the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, I think there's, like, she has some kind of developmental, like, social developmental thing going on.
Yeah, she's not all there. That's what I got from it.
Yeah. But she's in class, and a bird flies against the window and dies. And you see the blood on the window and stuff. And then you see Peter in his class, and he is very distracted by a girl's ass.
He's staring at a girl's ass sitting right in front of him like, you're such a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Such a teenage boy.
Yeah. And then it's after school, or either after school or recess or something like that. But Charlie is out by the window where the bird flew into the window, and she goes and she cuts the head off the bird.
This is where I said, what? What are you doing with the bird head? That's where I was like, this chick's not all there.
Yeah, this is a definite clue. Like, there's something weird going on with this kid. And up to this point, I'm just like, okay, is this like some kind of weird grandma's possessing the kid type story? Like, I get, from the beginning of this movie, I'm just like, what is this about? Because you see the weird symbols, and you see the weird writings on the walls and stuff, but you don't really know what it's about. And he keeps dragging you in kind of different directions to throw you off of what it is, but then he shows you it's like it's a secret witch movie. You're not expecting it to be about witches, and then all of a sudden it's about witches, which I think is a really good twist. Because I thought it was going to be possession. Definitely thought Grandma was going to possess a little kid. We see a woman across the street calling for Charlie.
She's like staring at her. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. I'm just like, working with kids, that's real creepy.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, go away.
Like, shoo woman. Shoo fly.
It's like, please get called at that point, but, you know.
Yeah.
I work with elementary school kids, so, yeah that's a big go away or getting the cops called.
Yeah. I work with middle school and elementary school, so yeah, that's definitely like one of those things like, why are you creeping?
Seriously.
But, so then we see Annie, she's working on her models for work and stuff, and she's also researching ghosts. So then that makes me think, oh, it's definitely a ghost possession story. Okay, got it. Because, she's sitting there researching ghosts and stuff, and I'm just like, gotcha, okay. And,
I didn't think that, but
there was just so many hints towards it.
I just never thought of it. I was like, okay, this is like a weird movie so far. I'm like, okay.
Like the first time I watched it, I was just like, I don't really know what to think. But then, like, the more I watch it and stuff, I see them, like, more hints about different things that he's trying to lead you to throw you off of the witches, which I think he did a good job of.
Yeah, I wasn't thrown off that much. I wasn't. But I think it helped that you'd watched it before. But you didn't tell me about the ending or anything, so
no.
that helped. You just said you really liked it. You said it was screw with you. I'm like, okay, so I was prepared for the screwing. Seriously, I was, so. But it's still not very nice. Got screwed.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, like, she goes to her mom's room, because her mom lived with her before she died and everything, and you see on the floor that there's a triangle.
Yeah, like this big triangle on the floor. And that, like, got me thinking, okay, well, maybe it is about witches, because I was like, that seems like some kind of symbol that a witch would use or something like that. So, like, at this point, I'm just like, okay, well, is this about witches? Is this about ghosts? Like, what is this about?
Well, it said earlier, like, her mom, like, Annie had found a book of spiritualism in her mom's things. And I was like, okay, so dark forces are amiss, I guess?
Yeah. And she also says at the funeral that she had her own, like, ritual, like, her mom had her own rituals and stuff that she did. But rituals can happen in any religion. Like, it can happen in anything. It's just a matter of what you consider a ritual, really.
Yeah, true.
But so she closes the grandma's door and locks it, and then she goes and asks Steve if he had been in the room, and he's like, no.
And it gets a call from the cemetery.
Yep. Saying
that his mother-in-law's grave had been
desecrated.
Yeah.
And you don't know quite what that means yet. You're just like, oh, somebody didn't like this woman.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I was like, somebody didn't like this woman.
Someone messed with her grave. I mean, that's kind of what I thought too. I'm like, okay. Not very nice thing to do, but okay.
I was like, okay, maybe this was a mean old lady. I don't know. Like, maybe it was Peter just messing around because he didn't seem too beat up about the fact that his grandma died. Like, maybe he hated his grandma or something. I don't know. Like, I was like, I have no idea what to think about the fact that it was desecrated. You don't know that it's important. Like, he's so good about giving you those details that are important that you just don't know are important. You're just like, oh, okay, well, why is that important? Then you find out later why it's important. And then, so, Steve, I don't know why I want to call him Steven.
You're trying to be formal.
Yeah. Steve doesn't tell Annie about it. He just says it's like billing or something like that. So she says, okay, well, I'm going to go to the movies. And I'm just like, you're not going to take your family to the movies? What? Annie is actually going to a grief support group. And she kind of speaks about what was happening with her mom before she died, pretty much her whole life. She's talking about how her and her mom didn't have a good relationship, how her mom, she wouldn't let her mom anywhere near Peter when he was born, but then when Charlie was born, she basically handed Charlie over to her mom.
Yeah, her mom was very manipulative and everything.
Yeah.
And because she was saying how her mom had DID, and I was like, oh, okay. And like dementia, all that when she was older. I'm like, okay, so DID, great. I know what that means. Does everyone else know what it means?
Are you asking me?
No, you probably know what it means.
Oh yeah, I was like, I just didn't know if you were asking me or not. Sorry.
But most people probably don't know what that means.
Yeah, most people probably don't.
No, DID, of course. It's an identity disorder, dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personalities.
Yeah.
But that's like the short term for it. So I'm like, to most people, they'd be like, what the hell is DID? So, yeah. I mean, I wish that was explained a little bit, but that's my psychology brain going.
Well, I don't know. It might be more common knowledge now, just because they're starting to make more movies about it. Like, we've had Split, and that was a pretty popular movie. So,
but do they call it DID? Do they call it dissociative identity?
Pretty sure in the beginning of the movie they do.
Okay. I'm just curious, because...
I'm pretty sure
technically
they say it in
not
the trailer,
that common.
too.
It's not that common of a disorder.
No.
It's not.
It's definitely not, and it's not something that most people would know about, but now I think the fact that they're starting to use it as a device in movies, just because it's not that common, so it's not like you're kind of glorifying it, since it's not that common.
Really isn't.
So they're starting to use it more in movies, so it's more common that people will know what it is now.
I just hope they're using it in the right way.
Yeah. Especially if you watch a movie like this, or a movie like Split, kind of something more like supernatural type thing. So yeah, Annie is at that grief meeting and stuff. And then it jumps to, I guess sometime the next day, or something like that. And, or I guess it's probably the same night. But we see Peter is sitting up in his window in his room, and he's smoking.
Smoking a bong.
Yeah. And we see someone watching from, I guess, like out in the woods type area, because their house is surrounded by woods. So it's either out in like the tree house or out in the woods. And And at first, like, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, Charlie's out in the treehouse watching him. But then it jumps to Charlie, and she's in her room. And you're like, okay, who's in the treehouse? So that's another one I'm just like, okay, well, is this a ghost story then? Because usually it's just like, I didn't know what it was about. It just kept jumping back and forth, and I wasn't sure. But, yeah, Charlie's in her room making some weird something or another.
With the bird head.
Oh, yeah, with the bird head. I forgot to write that down.
Yeah, and she's like, there's this light flashing, too. Like,
yeah.
It was like, it's like a ray, almost like a circle, and, like, goes across the room and, like, narrows down.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, so, like, you know when you have something reflective, like a mirror or a phone that's not on, like something reflective, and the sun hits it just right, and it makes that, like, weird, shiny light.
Okay,
it reminded me
you helped me with that.
A little bit of that.
I was trying to figure out, like, what does this remind me of? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because it was bugging me. And
so, go ahead.
So she carries, like, this dead bird because she sees the light, so she follows it, and she's carrying it out and everything, and...
Yeah. And Annie's working, and Peter comes and asks her about a party that he wants to go to. He says some school barbecue or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mom's like, okay, sure, whatever. But then she's like, you're going to take your sister, right? And he's like, well, does she want to go? Like that.
Exactly.
I kind of liked that response better than what I figured the response was going to be. Because normal older siblings are like, no, I'm not taking them. I'm not going to take them. But his response was, well, I'll include her if she wants to be included.
So that's a nice older brother.
Yeah. Which kind of throws me off for later.
And so, they're like, well, he's like, I don't know where she is. She's not in her room or anything. And so, Charlie sees this, like, lady or something.
Yeah.
Like in the field with fire around her.
As a naked lady.
I was like, what the fuck? And then Charlie makes this clicking sound.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
And she's like, what was it? Did she wander out at this point?
Yeah, she's
going towards it.
Going towards it. She's carrying the bird head.
Yeah. And, like, Annie has to come get her because she's like, what are you doing with no shoes on? Come on inside. And so Peter has to take Charlie with him to the party. And I'm going to let you do the rest of this part.
So they're on their way to the party, and as they are driving down the road, this is, like, super important. It focuses on this light pole, and that symbol is on the light pole. The symbol that we've seen earlier that the grandma had the necklace of and Annie had the necklace of. That symbol is on the light pole, which I did not catch until this time I watched it.
I didn't see the symbol. Wait, I think I did. No, I did. Actually, I did.
You definitely see it later when they're heading home, but I did not notice it the first time when it focused on the light pole. I did notice it this time. But so they go to the party, and Peter is there because he wants to hook up with this girl that he was staring at her butt in class, because she's at this party. And so he goes and talks to her, but he's, like, trying to go upstairs and smoke with her and some other people. Well, he thinks just her, but Charlie is, like, talking to him and trying to follow him and stuff, and he's like, oh, look, there's cake, go get some cake, go away. Pretty much. And you can very clearly see in the cake there's, like, little chunks of something, and we find out what those little chunks of something are. They are nuts, because she's eating the cake and she starts having issues breathing, which is a very common anaphylactic reaction to someone allergic to something. So she goes up and finds Peter and tells him, hey, like, well, she doesn't say hey, she's, like, trying to talk to him, and she's saying it's getting hard to breathe. But Millie does a really good job of acting like she cannot breathe and, like, trying to talk through it and stuff. So he freaks out and like carries her out to the car, and they are driving, and they're going, and there's a dead animal all of a sudden well, not all of a sudden, it was probably there, but there's a dead animal on the road. And so he swerves, we see the light pole, and all of a sudden, we also see Charlie's head get knocked clean off by the light pole.
She had stuck her head out because she was trying to catch some air.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
And so Peter stops the car, and my thought is he's gonna go get it, and he's gonna call somebody, or like he's gonna do a normal reaction that a person would do, a big brother would do, and any sibling would do, any normal person would do. But no, he just kind of sits there, doesn't look in the rearview mirror at all, because of course he already knows what's happened, like he heard it, and he just kind of sits there, and his face, he just starts making this like really weird face. Like, it seemed to me almost like he was in shock.
Oh, he was in shock.
And then he just drives off. And he gets home, and he just goes upstairs, and he lays in bed, and then he just waits there until the morning when his parents find the body in the car. And the scream that we get from Toni Collette is just so primal. I'm just like, holy crap.
He was in complete shock, and he did what a person in shock would do. That is completely, I understand that reaction completely. He didn't want to see it. He just saw it happen. He's not going to want to go back and relive it just then. No. He doesn't think, when you're in shock, you do not think logically at all. Okay?
Yeah,
you don't. True. Logic goes out the window.
But so, right after we see, or we hear, because it's still focusing on Peter while we hear Toni Collette screaming. So Annie, we hear Annie screaming. But then, not only did we get the whole entire visual of the body in the car, not only did we get the visual of the little girl getting decapitated, but now we get to see her dead head with friggin' ants crawling all over it.
That head has been in my dreams. It's not very nice.
That was just one of those, I'm just like, wow. I was shocked.
That was some good effects, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. that, just the head. I was like, that is some good, just some good effects right there, because it clearly sees that it's a head decapitated, and it got beat up because, it hit a pole and everything. Yeah. It's like, you can tell it's been ripped off, and there's things hanging out of it, and it's been ants have been walking all over it. It's pale, no blood in it anymore. It's disgusting. But it's so well done. Yeah. So well done. You're like, you really think that is her real head there.
Yeah. The special effects in this movie just are amazing.
Yeah, that's why it's in my head.
Back to our awards. That was what was voted best kill.
Yes, that was.
The name of the kill is Charlie Meets Lamp Pole.
Well, that's a nice way to say
it. Yeah. So, that's why I didn't want to say it earlier. It's a definite spoiler.
That's a definite spoiler.
So, we go through the whole grieving process with Mom. She's breaking down. Steve is trying to comfort her. Peter's just listening to her screaming and crying. And I'm just only imagining what that's doing to him. Because he's already messed up at the fact that he killed his sister. He didn't know. He didn't do it on purpose.
It was an accident.
Yeah, he killed his sister. So he's already freaked out about that. And then he hears his mom just basically sounds like she's dying with how upset she is and torn apart. We get the funeral. And then I like this shot that they did. As they were lowering the casket, they lowered the camera. And you see the dirt. I liked that shot a lot.
Yeah.
Then we go to the reception for this one. And we see Peter's watching through the stained glass because he doesn't want to be in there. Which is understandable. And Mom is in bed, or Annie's in bed. We've got some more words carved into the walls. And Peter is, it's nighttime. Peter's just staring out the window. And we see the light come on in the treehouse.
It's a red light.
Yep. Don't know it yet, but that's just because of the heaters that are in the... We see it like a few scenes, but it's just heaters that are in the treehouse for when it's cold. We find out Mom or Annie was sleeping in the treehouse.
Yeah, now the shit starts getting weirder.
Yeah, we're now into the second act when more of the horror comes into effect.
Yeah,
like,
completely.
Starts to play. The first half of this is very drama mystery. Like, you have no idea what's going on. It sets it up very well, I think. But then you start to get into the horror and you're like, holy crap, because this is where they start playing on what you think typical horror movies would do, like with the jump scares and the suspenseful music and stuff, but it like sets you up and then it stops and doesn't give you quite what you're expecting. Like you're expecting, based on what the music's doing, you're expecting a jump scare, but then it doesn't jump scare you.
It doesn't. It's unsettling.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so good. This is what you're expecting, but that doesn't happen. And I'm just like, because I've seen so many movies, they set you up for a jump scare. Oh, there's a jump scare. This one sets you up for a jump scare. Nope, not gonna do it. Sorry.
It's kind of reminds me of, there's one scene in It, chapter 2, that the music's all of a sudden gone. Then you hear like this thumping, pounding sound. And you're like, what the hell? And then you see this freaking giant naked woman running at you. And you're like, what the fuck? That freaked me out.
That was in the trailer. I liked that. That was good.
That was like, it wasn't a jump scare. It was more of like an unsettling, like, what the hell's going to happen? And I like that. That stuck with me from It, chapter 2. Stupid lady.
But so then we see Peter in school, and he's kind of halfway paying attention, not really though, and he kind of looks up, and you see the rearview mirror, and you're guessing that that's what he's seeing, and he like looks in it, and he just kind of like freaks out, and like jumps up, and his teacher's like, are you okay? He's like, oh, I just have to go to the bathroom. She's just like trying to play it off and stuff. Then he is smoking under the bleachers with some of his friends, and he all of a sudden, like, he takes a hit, and he's like starts having trouble breathing. And you're just like, well, this reminds me of Charlie when she was starting to have trouble breathing. So this made me kind of think, well, what if Charlie is possessing him to make him have this kind of like almost allergic reaction? That's what I was thinking in that particular scene there. So it's kind of like late at night or like dark.
Like the evening, yeah.
Yeah. And Peter gets home and he just kind of stands in the driveway for a minute and then he decides to go in. And it looks like Annie is sleeping in the car.
Yeah.
But she was just pretending. Because I guess she saw him coming. She didn't want to talk to him. And so she just, like, kind of hid a little bit. He didn't notice her. And then when he goes inside, she leaves. And she's going to the support group. And she's sitting outside, kind of just trying to decide if she wants to go in or not. And she decides she doesn't want to go in, so she's on her way out, and this woman, like, stops her. Her name is Joan. I don't remember where I've seen this actress before, but I do know everything I've seen her in, she does a great job. So I'm going to have to look it up. But so she's, like, telling, because Joan's like, well, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? How are you doing with your loss? And Annie's like, what? Like, she doesn't understand how she would know about Charlie. And she's like, your mother. And she's like, oh. And she tells about Charlie. Then Joan tells Annie about her son and grandson, saying that it doesn't ever get easier, or you don't ever get over it, but here's something that might help make it a little bit easier type thing. and like talks to her and stuff. She gives her phone number in case Annie ever wants to talk or anything. And then Annie doesn't go in the group meeting. She just leaves. And when she gets home, she says she was at the movies again.
It's like she doesn't want to tell them why she's going to grief counseling. Like grief circles and all of that. She plays it off as she's going to the movies, but...
Yeah, it kind of seems to me like she thinks she has to hold herself together in front of them and doesn't want them to see her grieving any more than she already has.
I can see that. But it's understandable to show your grief, too.
Yeah. So she's in bed, but she can't sleep, so she goes and sleeps in a treehouse. Peter is still awake because he's having trouble sleeping. And he hears Charlie's clicking in his room. And he, like, looks around, and this is kind of like a poltergeist moment. He looks over at the chair, and he sees it looks like Charlie is over there. But then he kind of blinks, and it's just his jacket. So it's in the poltergeist moment with the little boy in his room in the thunderstorm.
Yeah.
But anyways, we see this seance flyer. And then we see Annie is visiting Joan at her home, and she sees the welcome mat right outside. And she's like, what? She talks to Joan, and she's like, that reminds me of my mother. It looks like one she used to make. She's like, oh, really? That's not...
It's not weird at all.
So she's talking to Joan about her relationship with Peter and about how she used to sleepwalk, and there was one time when she was sleepwalking where she ended up pouring paint thinner all over herself and Peter while he was sleeping and she was sleepwalking, and what woke them both up was her lighting the match to set them both on fire.
And that was another part, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how do you sleepwalk like that?
Yeah. I don't know. But I think that kind of plays into the whole Hereditary thing. Like the name of the movie, like predisposed to something. Maybe it's like the whole family line is just predisposed to weird, strange things happening, and this is just how it plays out for her.
She's
I don't
fucking
know.
crazy.
That's just, yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm just like, the more I watch this, the more information I'm able to pull out of it, and that's just one of those things that I need to watch it more to figure out how that plays into the story.
I just think she's fucking crazy, but that's me.
Oh yeah, I think so too. But I just want to know more.
Another excuse for you to
I need
watch
a Hereditary 2.
A 2?
I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, one is plenty.
I just need more information. The Hereditary, the prequel about Grandma.
Oh shit.
That'd be good. That'd be weird, but that'd be good.
No. I said no. This was enough. No more cats.
But then we see her, Annie's she's done, it's like the next day or something, and she's recreating the accident with her little models. And Steve comes in, and he sees it, and he's like super irritated because she's done this. And he's like, what if Peter sees that?
Exactly.
She's like, it's just a outsider's view of the accident. And I'm just like, that doesn't matter. He sees that. He's gonna be so upset.
It's like, the kid already feels bad as it is, and you're just making it worse.
Yeah.
It's like,
so...
she is just does not like this boy. Goodness.
Yeah.
That's what I got. She does not like him.
Yeah. But so she goes down to dinner, and it's like this really awkward dinner.
So awkward.
But this is the first time on screen we see Annie and Peter in the same room since the accident happened. And they kind of freak out on each other.
The shit just lets loose. She just goes off on him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
I did. I even drew a face, too. It was like a, oh, snap face. It's like big eyes and everything.
That's funny.
And Peter's like, well, you forced her to go to the party. And it's like, oh, snap. I did. Oh,
He's like, what about you, Mom? Where's your blame? Because she didn't want to go. And then Toni Collette's face in that moment, I'm just like, holy crap. There's so much on that face. Like, she doesn't even need to say anything.
Nope. She didn't have to.
It was great. That's why, like, this whole entire movie, she is definitely the best in this movie. Just, like, flat out best actress in this movie. Just, she killed it. But so, it's the next day. Well, Annie left the table. And then it's the next day, and she's at the art supply store because she's trying to get some work done, and she needed some stuff. But she's on her way out, and she sees Joan putting stuff into her car. And Joan, I guess it's been a few, maybe couple weeks since they have seen each other, and so Joan's asking like how Annie's doing, and then she tells Annie about the seance. And then this is another thing gets me thinking like ghosts and stuff, because you don't really do seances with witches. I mean, witches do seances, but like normal people don't do seances, you know?
Yeah.
But, and then we also find out a little bit later something else. But so Annie's like really skeptical, but she goes over to Joan's house anyways, and they perform the seance. And then this is where you get kind of like that classic horror movie things happening. Like you get the flip of the hair with no one there, you get the glass moving, you get the really creepy music, and I'm just like, this movie just plays on literally everything it could possibly play on.
Oh, the horror types. Yeah, it plays on, like, all of your classic, like, horror things. Like, you got your suspenseful, you got your, like, the things moving around, all of that. So, I'll give it that credit. I will. Still, like, it's unsettling to me.
But that's a good thing.
No, it's not. I want to get some sleep.
See, that's the kind of reaction that I wish that I could have with horror movies. And this is the first one that got me that close in a long time. So I was so excited about it. Because it just plays on everything, and it gives you that unsettling feeling, and you're just like, well, I need to watch something happy now. It's just like one of those things, Like that's why a lot of people don't like horror movies, is because any horror movie gives them that feeling. And I just really like it when I find a movie that's able to give me that feeling.
This is the only one so far. I'm serious.
The only other one that did this for me is because I watched it when I was real little, was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, Chucky. Child's Play for me, actually, when I was younger.
Annie stops the seance because she's just, like, super uncomfortable. And then she, like, looks under the table and looking for it. But she... Oh, and then the chalkboard. Like, the writing on the chalkboard. And then Annie... Like, that's the last straw. She cannot take it because she's like, how is this happening? But the whole seance scene is just like classic horror movie tropes, and I loved it. But then Joan gives Annie the information on how to perform a seance herself at home because she feels like it would give her closure. And I'm just like, nope.
That's not going to give you closure.
Nope. Yeah, I'm just like, that's the number one rule. Actually, that's the number 2 rule of horror movies. Number 1 rule, don't go anywhere by yourself.
There we
Number
go.
2, don't perform a seance.
That's like, yeah, don't go by yourself. Especially if it's like a dark lit place.
Yeah.
or
but you know what?
Don't perform a seance.
Everybody breaks those rules.
Every time.
Like, it doesn't matter.
It's like, don't do it. Don't go there. But they don't listen. Yeah. No.
Joan says that everyone needs to be in the house to be able to contact Charlie. I'm like, nope, don't do it. Just don't. Nope. Something's gonna go bad. Nope.
I'm like, it's a horror film, so I'm guessing something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah. Annie's driving home, and she hears Charlie click. That's just what I'm gonna call it. It's a Charlie click. Because I don't really know what else to call it. And she kind of, like, freaks out a little bit. And then that night, she can't get to sleep. And she sees ants, like, all over. And so she starts following them, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Didn't we learn this in Harry Potter?
Don't follow the spiders!
Don't follow the bugs.
They don't learn, cats. They don't learn.
Yeah. They just... Obviously, she did not watch Harry Potter.
Obviously.
But so, she follows them, and they lead her to Peter's room. They are all over Peter. And I'm just like, nope, 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 nope. Because I don't like ants. Peter wakes her up, because apparently she was sleepwalking. And they, like, have this whole moment. And it's kind of like another moment from the table. And he's like, why are you afraid of me? Or, yeah, I think something like that. And then she's saying about how she never wanted him. She tried to have a miscarriage. And, like, all this stuff that you should never say to your child.
And then she's saying this, and they're getting covered in liquid.
Yeah, like, it looks like they're sweating, but then all of a sudden it's like, you find out, it looks like it's the whole paint thinner moment actually played out. And then a fire all of a sudden. And then Annie wakes up for real. And you're like,
a dream within a dream.
Dream. Like a sleepwalking dream within a dream.
Yeah.
That's a cool little thing there.
I thought that was like Inception.
Yeah. But so she wakes up Peter and Steve, and she's like, we're gonna do this seance. And she, like, has everything all set up and everything, and they're like, what are you doing? They just think she's a crazy person. And they're like, don't want to do it. And she's like, I'm a medium. I'm just like, oh my god, no you're not, shut up.
It's like, yep, she's lost it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Right at that moment, I was like, okay, yep. Everything she's done up till now, that just proves she's a crazy person.
She's just crazy. That's what I thought. Still think that, actually.
But so she starts the seance, and Peter starts freaking out. And we get the glass moving, and Steve's trying to stop her. Peter's super scared. Like, all this stuff starts happening. And then all of a sudden, we get Toni Collette acting like a child. Which I think was done very well.
It's like Charlie had, like, snuck into her and was using her to speak.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're like, what the hell's going on? And then Steve just throws water at her, just, like, to get her out.
Yeah.
And she's like, what just happened? She doesn't know. It's like, oh, God, here we go.
Then we see the model of the accident. It just kind of, like, focuses on it. I don't really know why. Like, this little part didn't really make much sense to me. And then we see some more writing on the wall. And then Peter's at school again, like the next day or something. And he sees that light that Charlie was seeing when she was carrying the dead bird head around. And so he's, like, watching it go around the room and stuff. And he hears the Charlie click at school, and he, like, freaks out. And so he calls his dad. Well, his dad's at work. Or Steve calls Annie, and he's, like, super pissed off at her because she freaked out Peter so bad. And he's having a panic attack at school, basically. And so she, like, starts destroying her models because she's just, like, she's lost it, basically.
Oh, yeah. She, like, bashes her set in.
And the thing I really liked about this, too, is how subtly Steve is losing it.
He's just, like, he's had to be so strong for everybody, and his wife's freaking going crazy. His son's losing it.
Yeah.
He can't hold on much longer himself, because you can only stay strong for so long.
Yeah. And we see him start taking pills and stuff, and it's just like, that's the real first sign that you get that he's, like, starting to lose it and starting to be like, I don't think I can handle this anymore. So,
I can see that.
So then there's some noise from Charlie's room, and we see the notebook, Charlie's notebook that she used to draw stuff in, and it's got pictures of Peter, like drawn, like Charlie's drawn pictures of Peter, and he's like, eyes are crossed out like he's dead and stuff. It's nighttime, and Peter's in his room, and he kind of gets that. It's another one of those poltergeist moments where he thinks he sees Charlie in his room, but then he sees her head fall off.
It turns into a ball.
Yeah. And then someone's grabbing his head from behind him. And the thing is about that, like, his bed is against the wall, so there's, like, no way anybody could grab his head from behind him. And he, like, starts freaking out and stuff, and, he gets mad at his mom because he thinks it was her. And she's like, I didn't do anything to you. Like, she had just walked in the room. Either sleepwalking or she just walked in the room to check on him or something like that. And he's, like, yelling at her.
She has her, Charlie's book now.
Yeah, so she's got Charlie's book, and she's trying to burn it because she thinks that that's what's going to get rid of Charlie. Annie's trying to burn the book, but it's not working. Like, she cannot get it to burn.
It's like she starts getting on fire.
Yeah. Like, her arm catches on fire and stuff. So she goes and visits Joan because she's like, I guess she wants to reverse the effects or whatever. And she goes into Joan's house and sees all, like, this weird cult stuff.
So, like, candles, there's a triangle carved in the table.
There's a picture of Peter.
Yeah, Peter's picture's in there, and there's Charlie's things, like her little creation she'd made, like even the bird thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell did she get that?
Yeah. So Annie, like, freaks out and leaves.
And you see those carvings, too, from earlier. The weird symbols.
Yeah. And, then we see Peter's at school, and it's, like, after school, and Joan is across the street yelling at him.
She's saying, like, I expel you or something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on now? This lady's crazy.
Yeah. So then we see Annie, she's, like, going through her mom's old stuff, and she's, like, going through pictures and stuff, and she starts realizing that Joan knew her mom, and they were in, like, the same cult thing. The same coven.
Yes.
And
they need to find, what was it? They're trying to get, bring back, like, this spirit, like, or something. Was it? Yeah. I don't remember the exact names. There's the P or something.
Payman.
Yeah. And then it needs a male host.
Yeah. So, and then it jumps over to Steve, and he's got an email about, like, pictures from the gravesite, from Annie's mother's gravesite.
Yes.
And it's pictures that the grave has been dug up.
And there's like, what was it? There's no coffin or something. It's missing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's a big thing right there.
Yeah.
Why the hell is a body missing?
So then we see Annie. She goes up into the attic because she's, like, I guess looking for more stuff to figure out what is going on. And she opens it, and a ton of flies come out. And, like, you can tell it's, like, a bad smell and stuff. And then she goes up there, and there is a dead, headless body in the attic. And that weird symbol that we've seen throughout the movie is on the wall in blood. And we hear, then it goes back to Peter at school, and he's got the Charlie clicking sound, and then, like, some weird stuff starts happening, and, like, he's got his arm up in the air, and his face is all contorted, really weird. And I like the way they did this, because it's one of those things, like, I mean, without the arm being up in the air type thing, but the way his face is kind of contorted, it's one of those things you're just like, it can be by skeptics and stuff, people that don't believe in possession and ghosts and supernatural things. it can easily be explained away by, like, an allergic reaction or something.
Or a seizure.
Yeah. Like, some kind of natural medical thing that happens that can easily be explained away. But this is very obviously, in the purpose of this movie, something is happening to him that is not medical.
No, I think he was possessed at this point, because he literally started banging his head on the desk.
Yeah. And he slams it like 3 or 4 times and wakes up screaming because he was like so possessed. Like, then he wakes up, or like whatever it was that was in him. Like, my guess is Charlie. Could have been Charlie, could have been Grandma.
It's somebody.
One of the two. And they like leave him and he like wakes up. And because Annie is up in the attic, she misses the call. So Steve gets the call about Peter from the school. And he goes to get him. And his nose is most likely broken. He's got like tape over it and stuff because it was bleeding and there's blood all over the place. And he's like on his way home and he's like breaking down in the car.
Yeah, he like, can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, there's too much shit going on. These people are going nuts around me.
Yeah. So he gets back to the house and Annie comes out, like runs out and just saying, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? And they take Peter upstairs. And Steve is mad at Annie about this whole entire situation. Like, everything that's been happening. He's just mad. And then, so she's like, I really need you to go up in the attic. I really need you to look up there. There's a body up there, and I think it might be my mother, but I can't tell because there's no head. And I'm pretty sure that's the line from the movie.
Something like that.
That I did not write down. But so he goes up there, and you hear him scream, and he comes down. And he's like... Annie's like talking all her craziness, and he starts getting so mad at her. Like, she's trying to get him to throw this book in the little sketchbook in the fire because she's like, it has to be me. I have to sacrifice myself. Like, this is all my fault. I'm the one that has to stop it, but I can't do it. I need you to throw this in the fire because it's going to kill me. Because at this point, she thinks it's going to attack her because she's been thrown in the fire. So she thinks it's attached to her. But so he's like so mad at her, and he's like blaming her for everything that's been happening to Peter and like everything that's been going wrong. And he was like blaming her for digging her mom's body up and stuff.
I think she's fucking nuts. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like he just thinks she's fucking crazy and she needs some help.
Yeah. So yeah, he says she's sick, and she's like sitting there asking him, throw this book in the fire, and he's like, no, I'm not going to indulge you anymore, like, I'm done. So she throws it in the fire, and he catches on fire, like, just straight out bursts into flames. And I love it when they do live burns, like, with the stunt double in the burn suit and stuff, because it's just one of those things it just happened so fast that you can't even tell that it was a stunt double. Like, obviously it was, because they're not going to put the actor in that. But when they do live burns on TV shows and movies and stuff, I just think it's so fun, because I'm just like, that would be so scary. And these people just do that for a living.
Yeah.
Like, that's one job that I don't think would be the best job in the world.
And Annie's face at this point, when she sees it, this is where I'm like, okay, this is where, like, something snapped a little.
Yeah.
Because you see her first, like, she's surprised, and all of a sudden it switches to something else.
Well, I think at this point, when it switches, she's now been possessed. Because the rest of this stuff that happens...
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's been possessed like, as soon as that face switches. And it's a great transition. She just, like... Toni Collette just all of a sudden, you don't even expect it to be coming. It just all of a sudden changes. But, so Peter wakes up and he's like real confused because he sees the lights on outside and the treehouse lights are on. And he's like looking outside and we see someone crawl across the wall.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, what? This is after this, like, after that, I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? I was cursing out
they're
loud.
Just, like, throwing everything at you now. Like, we're deep in the third act now, so they're just throwing everything at you. Like, all the creepiness is built up to this. So Peter's, like, looking around for his parents. He's, like, going around the house and stuff. And he goes in the living room, and he sees his dad, and he's just kind of standing there staring at him. And it's focused on Peter. And then I loved this moment, like, this entire scene here, because all of a sudden, like, the camera starts widening and widening, and the shot gets bigger. And then all of a sudden, you see Toni Collette up in the ceiling.
She's
like
watching
Spider-Man
it.
Or something.
She's watching, and you see the piano is overturned and everything.
Yeah. And then he turns around, and you see there's a naked lady in the doorway.
That was a man.
Oh, was it a man?
That's what I thought.
I don't know. There's a naked person in the doorway. And then he turns around again, and all of a sudden, Annie comes out of the corner. That's one of the jump scares. Yeah. That's one of the jump scares, but it's not what I was expecting. Because I was expecting the naked dude to start running after him. But he's just standing there.
Same.
But then he, like, run in, and he gets up in the attic, and he, like, locks the attic. That's where she can't get in. And we hear banging on the door.
This part, I swear.
And then all of a sudden, like, it goes down, like, it's showing him, and he's like, just please stop. And then it goes down to where we see Annie, and she's, like, up on the ceiling, banging her head against the friggin' door.
That was another what the fuck moment for me.
He sees where the body was in the attic, and he finds a picture of him with his eyes burned out. And then, so he's, like, trying to wake himself up because he thinks he's asleep, which is a reasonable thing, you know? You think you're asleep, all this weird crap is happening.
It's like a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah. So he's, like, trying to wake himself up, and he hears this, like, weird noise.
It's like...
Yeah. And so he turns and looks up to where he hears the noise coming from, and we see Annie floating in the attic, cutting her own head off.
It looks like with a piano wire, too.
Yeah. And so Peter jumps out the window.
I mean, that's a logical thing to do. Your mother's up in the air cutting her own head off.
Yeah. So, the little light thingy that we've seen throughout the movie floats to Peter's body. Then we see Annie's body floating up to the treehouse. Peter gets up. I thought he was dead at that point. Because he had already had so much trauma to his head already that day. So I figured jumping out the window, hope he's done. He's dead. Because he falls flat on his freaking face. But no, he gets up. And he goes to the treehouse. And we see tons of naked people all over the yard.
Yeah, bunch of naked people.
And if you didn't notice, it's hard to tell, but these are the same people that were at the funeral at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But so he gets up into the as he gets up, he makes that click. And you're like, oh, that's not Peter anymore. That's Charlie. Like, Charlie has now taken over Peter's body. But I don't know if Peter is still alive and Charlie is just, like, completely taken over, or if Peter is dead and Charlie just took the body. You know, it's sort of one of those things. It's just a question I have.
No idea.
Yeah, I know. I figured you wouldn't be able to answer that question.
I got nothing for you, Cap. Sorry.
I need to talk to Ari about that. So
you do. Talk to the director, please. And ask him what the fuck. For me, that's my question. Ask him that.
I'll be like, first of all, great movies. I love them. They're great. Freaking amazing. Second of all, is Peter dead? Third of all, my friend Jess says, what the fuck?
Thank you. I would appreciate that. And so he's up in the treehouse, and there's this statue. And for me, it kind of reminds me of this. I've seen statues like this before. Different though. It looks like Jesus.
Are you going to pagan rituals?
No, I'm saying it looks like Jesus.
I know. I just messed with you.
I mean, technically, a lot of Catholic stuff comes from pagan things, but we're not going to deal with that. So it looks like Jesus to me. It looks like the crown, like everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but on the head of that statue is Charlie's head. The one that was decapitated earlier in the movie.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's Charlie's head on that little statue thing.
Oh, didn't look like it to me.
It is. It's just so decomposed. Like you can, like it's not like super decomposed where you can't tell, but it's more decomposed than it was when we get the shot of just the head laying there. But it is Charlie's head.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
But yeah, there's this shrine and there's like this whole weird naked ceremony going on, and we see Joan is there, and we see Annie without her head kneeling and praying. We see dead grandma without her head kneeling and praying. And we hear Joan talking about Payman. He's one of the 8 kings of hell. And how they corrected Charlie's first body, which was a girl, and he needed to be a boy. Like Payman needed a boy body, a male body. And so they corrected the first body and present him now with this male body. And they put the little crown on Charlie's head. Well, Pedo Charlie, the possessed Peter, on the head. And I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah, that was my reaction too.
But this is just like, to me, just one of those movies. I didn't know what to expect at all. But that's it. That's the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's 2 hours of it.
Yeah. Alright, so the music in this is by Colin Stetson. He is known for the video game Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, okay.
He's done some really good music.
I was like, I know that music. Logan's played Red Dead Redemption. That's a good music in there.
Yeah. It's good music in this one, too.
I'm sorry, I wasn't focused on the music, Kat. I was trying to focus on the story.
The music's really good in this one. He plays it up really well. He builds it to where it needs to be, and then just all of a sudden it's just like, whoa. But he's also worked on The First from 2018 and Outlaws and Angels from 2016. The very first thing he ever worked on was a short called Greyhounds in 2007, and he is currently working on a TV miniseries, Uzukami, which I'm guessing is an anime, and it is going to be released next year in 2020. There is nothing that I know of to compare this to, seeing as how, well, especially because this is his first movie, Ari Aster. As far as I know, this is an original screenplay that he came up with. It's not based on anything. Yeah, he wrote the screenplay for this. So, trivia?
There's a few. So, how to get the chalkboard to write. I like this one. It says they put a magnet in the chalk, and then there's the magnet on the other side of the chalkboard to make it chalk move. But it's kind of hard to make it do that, so. Well, it worked. It did work.
Strong magnet.
It has to be a strong magnet, yeah. What was it? So, like, the little sets that you see at the beginning, like her little houses, those are actually all of the interior of the house. So, like, Peter's room, Charlie's room, there are those, like, you see them in the very beginning as the little sets.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a cool design. I was like, nice.
Yeah, I loved all the models in this. I thought they were great.
I was like, yeah, sure. Because it says it was make sure that they were exactly the same. So the house, the big house that you see, and then like the little sets, they're exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. So you know how she could easily just like switch, like when like that scene where you think like she's become possessed. As like that surprise face and all of a sudden like switches. Well, she's good at that because she's actually played a character that has DID.
Oh, that's cool.
She is. It's I actually know about this. I've been wanting to watch this. It's the it's a TV show called The United States of Terra, and she plays a woman who has multiple personalities in that. So she's really good at already knowing how to switch just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much else I can say about this.
No problem.
Because again, I just... yeah.
Favorite line?
This was hard for me because I was focusing on the story and I was trying to think. I'm like, okay, what am I going to use for lines? Because I was so focused on the story and, like, I didn't write, like, any lines down. Because I was, most of the time, I was saying, like, what the fuck? Or, like, what's going on? How come they showed this on an actual movie? So I got 2. I'm pulling it out from, of course, the quotes here. It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious.
Yeah, I thought that one was good.
I like that. And then I like this one. Because nobody admits anything they've done.
Oh, yeah, I did like that one, too.
Because that's her entire, just like, that's the end of her entire rant, like, to Peter. So I'm like, wow. Okay. So those are my 2.
I've got quite a few.
Go for it.
She wanted me to be a boy. Our sacrifice will pale next to the rewards. Why are you scared of me? I just liked the delivery of that line.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Didn't feel like looking at it anymore. Oh, you mean more than your mother's headless body? Of course there is.
It's so dark and humor.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that he was able to put some humor in the very dark ending of this movie.
This is very dark.
And then, Hail Payman. But I think my favorite, like my 2 favorites are didn't feel like looking at it anymore, or why are you scared of me?
Well, it's your movie, Kat, so I'm letting you pick.
I narrowed it down.
Me, I would go with the why are you scared of me.
Okay.
That's what I would go with. But
we'll do that one then.
That's me.
Alright. So, what is your rating?
My rating. So, I was talking to Kat about this before we got started. Because I had to tell her about it. Because I was like, I couldn't wait. And she was surprised at my rating. She's like, I thought it'd be a lot lower. I'm like, well, as I thought about it all week long, it grew on me. So I'm giving it a 7.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's, like one of the things said, it sticks with you after those closing credits. And you think about it longer than you should. Yeah. And some things just get stuck in your head. And that's a sign of a good horror film. So I would give it that credit. The thing is, I didn't like the ending. That was my issue. I didn't like the ending. I felt like it copped out a little bit. I would like if it had been left mysterious. But I can see why they did the ending with, the satanic ritual and all that. Good acting, though. Damn good acting, though.
Yeah, this is great acting in this.
Yeah, I'm just taking points because it's unsettling. It's unsettling to me. Like, just talking about it now, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore.
Well, we're almost done. I gave it an 8. The first time I watched this movie, I was just like, that's the thing, like what you said, it's unsettling. It's been a long time since I've had a movie make me feel like that. Like, make me get a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. It's been a while. I loved the acting in this. The cinematography was great. Like, I felt like every shot that they had, there was a purpose to it. Like, it built towards what they were trying to do. I will agree that the ending was kind of just like, really? Like, why? It's just one of those things that just wasn't quite 100% happy with the ending. Like, I'm okay with it, but it's not what I was expecting it really to be. That little girl, she's just real creepy. If you look at a picture of the actual little girl, she's actually really pretty. She does have kind of like strange shaped eyes, and I think that's what really did it. But they kind of, like, with her makeup, because they did, I think, put some prosthetics on her face. Because if you look at her actual face compared to the way she looks in the movie, there had to be some prosthetics on her face.
Oh, I think there were.
But they did a really good job with making her creepier than she originally probably would have been. The one part of acting that bothered me was Alex Wolff a little bit. His crying kind of bothered me a little bit. Some of the times when he's crying, it just felt like a little bit over the top.
Oh.
But
I can see that.
For the most part, all of the acting was really good. I liked that it's kind of a slow burn movie.
I don't.
But I like the ones that are kind of slow burns, at least in horror movies. Like, I do like the ones that are super action-packed, but then there's sometimes, like, if they're too action-packed and, like, it ends up going too fast, and then you're just like, well, that was kind of lackluster.
So, you mean like the Bourne trilogy?
Yeah.
I'm
like,
sorry, I had to.
The new Pet Cemetery. Like, the first part of that movie, it's like going, and it's just kind of like building like a normal horror movie would. And then all of a sudden, the stuff starts happening, and it just like, it seems like it's over in 30 minutes. And that's what I don't like. I don't like it when you all of a sudden start getting to the good stuff, and then it's over.
Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
I like that this one is kind of like builds up the story really well in the first act, and then kind of gets starting into the creepier stuff, and then just hits you full force in the end. So I did like this one quite a bit. I do think it's a really great debut movie for Ari Aster. I set my expectations super high. He did a great job with his second movie. I actually think he kind of raised the bar a little bit with his second movie, at least in my personal opinion. I don't know about what other people think, but I did like this one a lot. So I don't remember if I said it, but I gave this one an 8. So our next film is one of them that Jess picked, and it is Young Frankenstein from 1973.
It's such a switch from this movie. Completely. It's like complete opposite, thank God. It's like, it's gonna be a nice switch, for sure.
Well, I just think it's funny, like, we both picked a horror movie, and we both picked a,
comedy. Horror.
Comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, but your horror one's way worse.
I don't know. I think mine's a little bit more unsettling. So we will see you in just a few minutes for Young Frankenstein. Bye.
Bye.